For the year 2026, I would actually like to create a little bit more raised bed. It'll be easier for me to manage the garden that way. It will be very helpful to keep my soil nice and moist during the summer times if I have raised beds. So I would actually like to make some more raised beds and to organize my garden just a little bit differently. So I have a few 4x4 raised beds that we made out of repurposed wood, and I plan to just do the same thing again this year. So in these two beds right here, I have carrots right now, and in this bed I also do have some calendula. In these beds, I would like to plant more carrots, and I'll probably continue with the calendulas. I'm not sure because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it's gonna get really hot, so I don't really want to keep the calendulas here, but maybe some shade cloth would do it well. So this is what I plan to do for this spring, and then after the carrots are finished, then I will put more herbs and peppers in this bed, and probably the same for this one, and some climbing beans in this bed. My garden is actually on a hill, and I plan to just make this hill work for me, and I plan to try to work on the hill and try to figure out ways that we can utilize this space. So this bed right here is something that I made up out of like logs and woods and things, but I'm going to break it down because I built this up because over here the water stays stagnant here. So I did not want to have an area where wasn't growing anything. But now that I look at it, it's breaking down. There's like weeds growing inside of it or at the sides of it. So it wasn't built pretty like well enough for me. So I'm actually gonna take everything out of here, all the perennials, and I'm actually gonna move my wormwood to someplace else. And I'm going to dig this out and actually make a real bed here. In the year 2025, this bed right here was left to be rested. I rested this bed. I did not put a cover crop in here, but I did have things growing in here, just random crops that I did not harvest. I just let them die back. And as you can see, I still have an onion here that's still growing. But this year I do plan to garden in this 4x4 bed. This was actually my first garden bed that I ever had, so which was amazing. It grew a lot of food in it, and I decided to let it rest. So this year we're actually going to revive this bed and grow food in it this year. One of my dreams right now has come true where we're mulching this entire backyard. So I'm hoping to get that done before the month of January is over, because our winters are pretty mild, and I usually plant certain things out around February, March. Only really cold hardy things, nothing too crazy. And it really depends on the weather or how I feel about the weather. I usually take chances and make mistakes, like Miss Frizzle. Since this is the 7th year of gardening, I will be letting this larger portion of my garden to rest. Since I will not be growing in this area right here, and that's one of my largest areas, I plan to utilize growing more in pots. I gardened over here last year, and I made this one bed and it did so well. I am planning to make more beds in the section. Another bed right here, maybe one or maybe one more over there. I don't want to come too close because my children said that's their play area, so I have to give them their little space that they can play in. So, and as far as my greenhouse is concerned, I do plan on planting tomatoes again in here and peppers. I also do plan on planting some cucumbers and some other various vegetables in here, maybe some herbs, but we shall see how that goes. In this area right here, I planted sweet potatoes in the row over. I think I'm gonna plant them here closer instead, because they were running all the way over to like my neighbors. So I don't want that again. So I will plant them in this row instead, and I will build these up some more. So I'm going to actually add more compost over here, and I want to build this up so it can be like really high. And I think that would be really good. My sweet potatoes did really good last year, so I think that they'll be fine again. I just don't want to plant them in the same exact spot. This area is at the side of my shed. I usually say to myself, I'm not going to garden here. I'm just going to just let it be, right? But then I always end up gardening because I need to fill every space up. I do really like to plant a lot of stuff that's shade tolerant And even tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, they do really well right here because it's a shady area. But I love this area because it's so hot here that in the summertime that it actually does the plants pretty well, that they can have a little bit of sunlight in the mornings, and then by evening it's shady over here and cool. So I could get away with planting like kale here, or just more shade loving crop, or crops that would do better in shady areas in the hot summer sun. As of right now over here, I still have my lavender plants. They're still alive. I'm so grateful, so happy about that so far. So I'm hoping to get some lavender so I can use it in my soaps and teas, of course. Lavenders are good for teas as well. I don't know. I don't really have a full plan for the side of my house here. This is normally like an afterthought for me, but I'm trying to think about all the things that I do want to and need to grow. So I'm not sure as of yet. It will most likely be vegetables and edibles that will be over here, things that we can eat. And over on the other side would be more flowers and pretty stuff. The way how I kind of had it last year, I loved it so much. It was so beautiful and it made me happy, and the butterflies loved it, and the bees, they loved it, and all the pollinators, they loved it.